Are you tired of scrolling through the never-ending pile of games coming to Steam? According to GamesRadar, in 2023, over 14,000 games released on Steam, and that number keeps increasing every year. Every Wednesday, I will dig through the pile, watch all the showcases, and read all of the press releases in search of a handful of games that you need to add to your wish list. With time passing and new games getting announced every single day, the plan is to add a handful of titles weekly to ensure that this won't just be a simple wish list for 2025, but will instead be an ever-growing resource of great-looking games. So if you want to keep an eye on this list, be sure to swing back every week. With everything out of the way, here is a handful of games that you need to add to your wish list for Wednesday, May 28th. Hollow Knight Silksong. Yes, I already know that you know this game, but there are reasons that I am starting with Hollow Knight Silksong. To begin with, I want this segment to have the best possible chance at success, and there is no better way to do that than by mentioning Hollow Knight Silksong. Attaching one of the most anticipated indies of all time, or even perhaps one of the most anticipated games of all time, will shine a brighter light on smaller titles that might never get the exposure they deserve. Furthermore, 2025 actually might have a chance to see the game finally release. At the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct, we were treated to the first new footage of Silksong that we have seen in years. It might have only been a few seconds of Hornet going down a slope, but it was enough to keep hope alive for 2025. The other reason is that later this year, there will be a playable demo at the Melbourne Museum in Australia, which is where Team Cherry is from. Silksong will be part of an exhibition called Game Worlds in September 2025, but the big question is this going to be playable before or after Silksong releases? Normally, there will only be 3 titles every week that we think are deserving of a spot on your wish list, but Silksong technically doesn't count, so here are 3 more. Recur. I love platformers. 2D ones have a very soft spot in my heart, especially ones that break the mold in some way, shape, or form. Some bring narrative like Celeste, others bring atmosphere like Inside, and some bring unique puzzle mechanics like Braid. Recur looks to be a blend of all of these elements together, but it's the time manipulation mechanic that is truly attention-grabbing. Unlike Braid, where you control time with buttons, time is based around your movement in Recur. Move forward or to the right of the screen and time passes normally, but go backwards or to the left of the screen and time reverses. In Recur, you play as a postman who has discovered the ability to turn back the clock, which would be interesting on any normal day, but this all happens at the edge of the apocalypse, and the fate of humanity lies in your hands. In addition to the mechanics, Recur also features a very appealing look with a cel-shaded inspired art style, and the promise of an engaging story as you try to discover why the world is ending. PVKK. In PVKK, you are in charge of a giant planetary defense cannon in what feels like a natural evolution of Missile Command from the 80s. On a day-to-day basis, you remain in your cozy bunker and handle the satisfying minutia of flipping switches, pushing buttons, rotating dials, and pulling levers to fend off the planet from invasion. This concept alone would be enough for a decent game, but it's everything else that has me intrigued. In between missions, you maintain and improve your living quarters, which are adjacent to the command center. Adding complexity and layers to the gameplay is the fact that you're in the middle of an autocratic regime, and your choices will carry weight. You will slowly unravel what's really going on and discover puzzles around the bunker that will lead you to the truth. PVKK is being developed by the team behind the critically acclaimed Dome Keeper, and it's also being published by Kepler Interactive, who have been quietly building up a fantastic publishing resume with titles like Sifu, Windblown, Bionic Bay, and the recently released Clair Obscur Expedition 33. This all bodes well for the likelihood that PVKK will be another feather in the cap of Kepler. Long Gone. The best zombie games are the ones that aren't actually about zombies, and that's why Long Gone is the most interesting and best looking game about zombies since The Last of Us. It really isn't about zombies, it's about the stories within this world. Long Gone doesn't even feature combat. Instead, each zombie encounter is a puzzle where you need to utilize the environment around you. You take on the role of a survivor who has gotten separated from his group and finds himself in this village where his goal is to find batteries for his walkie-talkie and to get back in touch with the rest of his team. In between these zombie puzzles, you will progress through the linear story-driven adventure where you will try to uncover the truth and piece things together from the items that people have left behind. Long Gone is inspired by The Last of Us, Gone Home, and Another World. Hillfort Games is documenting the entire journey on YouTube, Twitch, and Patreon, and if you watch any of the devlogs, you will see how passionate, talented, and vulnerable Vin is. If just a fraction of this gets transferred to the final product, Long Gone will be an absolute treat. That's all for today, but until next time, be good to your fellow gamer, but more importantly, be better to your fellow human.